Hey everyone, this is Peyton and Daniel, coming in hot with our first video.
Yeah, first video on the channel. We've recorded some episodes after this, so or before this, so if there's things implying that it's our first video on other videos, it's because we recorded those first. This is coming out when Justice League comes out.
Yeah, we're Zack Snyder's Justice League, the 2021 movie.
Yes.
We're talking about a retrospective road to the Snyder Cut, if you will.
I know very little about Zack Snyder or even the Justice League movie in general, so Peyton is here as my ferry into the underworld of Zack Snyder controversy.
Yes, we are going to go through the history of the Snyder Cut, from being the regular version of the Justice League film to being a mythical unicorn, as Kevin Smith called it, to coming out on March 18th, 2021.
Yeah.
On HBO Max.
Yeah.
So, this isn't the beginning of Zack Snyder's foray into DC films, but I thought an appropriate place to start would be April 27th, 2014. Zack Snyder is announced as the director of Justice League.
Wow. Do you know how that was received?
Well, the only one that had come out at this point was Man of Steel, which is a controversial film, but I would say less controversial than his next DC film. No, I think people were on board for this when it happened. The fan backlash wasn't huge for Man of Steel. Coming right up, still in 2014, October 15th, 2014, the DC film slate up to 2020 is announced.
Okay.
Let me just read these off to you, and I'll tell you which ones made their date, and you could probably tell me which ones didn't. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, March 25th, 2016.
Okay.
That made its date.
Yeah.
Came out. We'll talk about it. Suicide Squad, August 6th, 2016. Did make the release date. Wonder Woman, June 23rd, 2017, actually did make its release date. Actually, I think it came out prior to that. I think they moved it up. Here's where things get a little dicey. November 17th, 2017, Justice League Part 1. To be fair, Justice League theatrical did come out on that date, but
it was not a Part 1.
It's not a Part 1, and we'll talk about why it wasn't the film anyone thought it would be. March 23rd, 2018, The Flash.
Dang. They were going to do a Flash movie in 2018?
Yeah.
And after Justice League?
Yep.
They were going to do a solo Flash movie after Justice League. That's so weird.
So we can talk a little bit about, the plans for the next couple of Justice League movies when we get toward the end here. But yeah, the part of the plan was to introduce characters in Justice League and then expand their stories after it.
This version of the Flash is introduced, of course, in Batman vs Superman for his one little
cameo.
I guess you could call it a cameo. And then Justice League, and then that. Which, characters, the Marvel even does that with, like, Black Widow didn't get a solo movie until after she even died. But it's interesting that 2018, Flash supposed to have a solo movie. Now it's 2021, and he still hasn't got a solo movie.
Yeah. We've got a release date on what is supposed to be his movie, but the Flash movie has fallen through before. I would say this one is the closest that we've gotten in production. This is Andy Muschietti's The Flash with Sasha Calle playing Supergirl.
Which is wild to me, because I feel like The Flash is one of the most accessible superheroes outside of Batman and Superman.
It's crazy to me that DC rolled with Green Lantern
or Aquaman
before anyone else. I mean, not anyone else, but before Wonder Woman and The Flash.
Yeah.
All right, so July 27th, 2018, Aquaman. Didn't make that release date, but did release in December of 2018. So it did come out in 2018. Oddly, the last one to make its release date is Shazam in April 5th, 2019.
Yeah.
I think they didn't know what they were doing with that movie yet. So I think they had plenty of time to figure it out.
Yeah.
Here's where things start getting a little wonky. Justice League Part 2, June 14th, 2019, which not only is that movie not a thing, there's no sequel to Justice League.
Yeah. It was never even advertised as it being a part 1, part 2.
Correct.
Which is interesting.
At a point, and I think this was sometime early 2017, late 2016, it became Justice League as opposed to Justice League Part 1. Cyborg, April 3rd, 2020.
They planned for Justice League Part 1 to come out 2017 with Cyborg as a key character. And then 3 years later have a Cyborg solo movie?
Yep.
Okay. I guess that didn't happen. But...
And then finally, June 19th, 2020, Green Lantern Corps.
That would have been a cool movie.
Yes, and not to spoil anything here, but Green Lantern would have actually made his debut prior to arriving in the third Justice League film.
Yeah.
Unlike Cyborg.
Yeah.
All right, so past the DC slate, now we're here, March 25th, 2016. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice is released in theaters. Mostly negative reviews. Very negative reviews. People really didn't like this movie. Mostly for the reason of it's dark, it's grim, there's not a lot of levity to it, and that's appropriate. We talked about this movie, not on the channel yet, but we have talked about this movie. I really like it, and I think you share a similar sentiment.
Yes. I mean, you'll see in our ranking video what we officially think about it. But one thing to note is that there is the Ultimate Edition and the theater cut. And I feel like I haven't seen theatrical.
I've seen both.
But it has a lot of small things that help clarify a lot of the problems people might have. Yeah. So.
But it grossed $873,637,528 at the box office, which is a sizable gross for a movie.
Yeah. Especially with Civil War coming out very close to the same.
Sure. But it's a movie with Batman and Superman in the title. I think they expected this one to crack a billy, instantly.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen.
And did Zack Snyder direct Batman vs Superman?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Were people at this point less trusting of Zack Snyder with the DC universe?
I think BVS was the turning point of both the fan base being like, actually, we are not a fan of this take. Not the whole fan base. This, like I said, this movie is very divisive among fans. Among the general public, I think, and this isn't a bad thing, but I think a lot of people love the Marvel model, and I think DC said, let's do something different, and it didn't stick the landing with a lot of people. I think this was like a big, point for DC to reevaluate their movies. Some for the better. Some movies, like Aquaman, I would say, really thrived on the lessons they learned from this. I don't think Justice League did, though.
Yeah. And Peyton, you have you saw it in theaters look at this movie, right?
Right.
Where I just watched this movie recently.
Yeah.
So
I've seen it in theaters, and then I saw it several times after that.
Yeah.
And I've seen theatrical and Ultimate. So anyway, now we are at April 11th, 2016.
This next my birthday.
Justice League begins principal photography, directed by Zack Snyder. WB mandated, that's Warner Brothers, WB mandated that either comic book writer Jeff Johns or producer John Berg be on set every day to check Snyder's work. Yeah.
Dang.
According to the reports, they were mostly present to interject comedy into the film.
Okay.
So...
because BVS was too dark, they said, all right, Dark Man. Not the character Dark Man, but all right, brooding man, you got to get some comedy in there. So instead of like having organically have comedy organically happen, they inject it into Snyder's already made work.
Now, from what we have heard, it wasn't really a battle.
Okay.
We've heard a lot about this production time. Snyder got to shoot what he wanted to. I think, they were around to just, be like, don't make this too dark.
Yeah.
But it's a weird situation.
Especially
to trust a, I wouldn't say auteur filmmaker, but like a filmmaker with a very distinct style and with very strong choices for these characters, to give him another movie and, like, you know, just trust him to make it, as well as being like, but you can't do this.
Which is also odd, because it says in your scripty thing here that it was checking his work every day.
So
that's
WB
crazy.
mandated that one of them has to be on set every day.
That's still crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I could, like, as an artist, I don't feel like I could work with someone over my shoulder.
As far as we know, Snyder wasn't, like, super peeved about this. But this isn't the end of Justice League's production troubles.
Yeah. All right. So the next bit.
This one is not as relevant right now. There are things in here that we'll talk about that will become relevant later, but we need to talk about them when they happen. April 13th, 2016, Ben Affleck is announced to direct and star in the next Batman film. So this movie would have slotted right here after Aquaman. In the slate, between Aquaman and Shazam.
And that was just like a solo Batman movie.
Solo Batman film, directed and starring Ben Affleck.
Okay.
I'll just say we do know some things about this movie when it was happening. Deathstroke was going to be in it. The Riddler was going to be in it. It was going to primarily take place at Arkham Asylum. I mean, that's about it. But that will become important later.
Okay.
April 19th, 2016. Willem Dafoe is cast as Vulko in Justice League.
Okay.
Do you remember Willem Dafoe being in that movie?
No. I don't even remember the character even being in that movie.
It's because he wasn't.
So they scrapped the character and the actor, or they scrapped him and thus the character was removed?
Willem Dafoe reprised his role as Vulko in Aquaman.
Okay.
But all of his scenes were scrubbed out of Justice League Theatrical.
Okay. Is that going to be in the Snyder Cut, do we know? Okay.
Indeed, he will be there.
Okay.
Confirmed. That is not the only character completely taken out of that film.
From what I've heard of the slight snippets of Snyder Cut stuff, there's a lot of whole characters, it seems like, that are taken out of Justice League. Yep. And one of the problems I had with the theatrical cut when I watched it was that everything seemed so small stakes, in the sense of there was supposed to be these world grand scheme stakes, but like they literally just let the guy go away, and there wasn't like more foes and stuff. So it's that space is probably there because it was occupied by other characters. Yeah. So
July 23rd, 2016, San Diego Comic-Con, WB reveals the first look teaser at Justice League. This movie looked lighter, even though it was a Snyder movie. It did look more hopeful. It didn't look hokey like theatrical kind of is. But there it's got jokes. You know, there's a there not a lot of action had been recorded at that time. They were still filming. So, a lot of it was the characters standing around talking to each other. One of Snyder's scenes is the Batman Flash exchange, like, "Oh, so you're fast," and the Flash is like, "Oh, I need friends," or there's a scene, not in theatrical, but there's a scene in that trailer where Cyborg says, like, "I heard about you. I didn't think you were real," and Batman says, "I'm real when it's useful." It didn't scream like fun, but it seemed not BVS.
It had more heart to it.
Yeah.
Which is, especially when the Justice League is supposed to be not just like a family, but a unit. That's another thing that's missing from the movie that we currently have.
Yeah. But movie looked cool.
Yeah. I think I vaguely remember my friend, like, when this came out, my friend showing me the trailer, and I was like, okay, that looks fine.
July 25th, 2016. Kiersey Clemons is cast as Iris West in Justice League. Again, a character who all of her scenes were scrapped. Will be in the Snyder Cut. She's in the trailer. Classic Flash love interest.
Yes.
Again, crazy that a whole character's removed.
Also interesting that so his dad is a very key component to the Flash.
Yeah.
And no one else really has someone else that ties them to another person besides Clark has
probably Cyborg.
Lois. Yeah, but even then, like, Cyborg's dad isn't really that, like, tied to anything.
I think that could change.
Yeah.
I think that will change in the Snyder Cut. But as it stands in theatrical, yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy that they have such large supporting casts. I mean, kind of every character has, even minimally, like, Aquaman has Mira.
Yeah.
In the movie, like, every character has, like, a tie to another character.
Yeah.
Which is
makes them feel more
crazy.
grounded and makes the world feel more populated.
Yeah. October 16th, 2016, Justice League ends principal photography. So Snyder got to film everything he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, every movie does pickups.
Yeah.
You know, every movie has additional photography that happens. But for the principal photography, Snyder got to film his movie.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, February 23rd, 2017. Matt Reeves replaces Ben Affleck as the director of The Batman.
Okay, who's Matt Reeves?
Matt Reeves directed Cloverfield.
Okay.
And both Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and War for the Planet of the Apes.
So, they wanted a lighter movie from Zack Snyder, and then they get whoever this is, Matt Reeves.
So I don't think this was a studio decision. I think this was a Ben Affleck is backing up decision. Again, the saga of Ben Affleck either being Batman or not being Batman will continue. But I think this was the beginning of people kind of saying, is he going to be Batman? Because they had the sad Affleck meme, and there was a lot of rumors flying. Like, every week you would hear, is he going to be Batman? Is he not going to be Batman?
To be fair,
I've heard it referred to as Schrodinger's bat.
That's funny. To be fair, like, directing a movie and acting in it is very difficult.
Yeah. Especially with, if you know Ben Affleck, he has had a lot of, substance abuse problems in the past, and, he went through a divorce during the production of BVS, and clearly he was not in such a great place at the time.
Yeah.
And I think it was a healthy decision
for
him to take a step back. But as we know, he's not Batman anymore anyway.
Yeah.
Matt Reeves is still directing the Batman with Robert Pattinson. March 20th, 2017. This is a big turning point in this saga. Because March 20th is the date that Autumn Snyder, the daughter of Zack and Deborah Snyder, who is also a producer of the film, died by suicide at age 20. Wow. Yeah. This was a big deal, and really, I would say, is the linchpin of this crazy shift in this film's production. Of course, March 25th, 2017, 5 days after, the first trailer for Justice League is released.
Wow, that's soon.
So this film had 2 trailers out before Zack and Deborah Snyder left the project. This trailer's pretty different from theatrical still. I mean, you can tell it's a Snyder movie. They replaced I know you know, but in the final battle of theatrical, they replaced in the trailer for the original film, the final battle's just at night.
Yeah.
And in the film that came out, it's a big red sky.
Yeah.
But you can see it's night in this trailer. Anyway, back to this. May 22nd, 2017, the Snyders leave Justice League after many lost battles with the studio to deal with the family tragedy. Joss Whedon is handpicked by Snyder to helm reshoots and post-production. Okay. I say handpicked in quotes.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't.
So who claimed...
By handpicked, I mean the studio said that Zack Snyder chose him to reshoot the film.
And he didn't.
He didn't.
And he is, like...
He has said himself he didn't do that.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a saga with many lies from the studio.
Yeah.
And I think this was one of the first big ones.
Yeah, especially him, like, leaving for such a personal family thing. That's so weird to say that you just have a different director now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why.
Well, and I'm very surprised as a fan, because I wouldn't say that Justice League Theatrical was like a total surprise, that it was like crazy altered, but the studio told us, time and time again, and Whedon said it, and we'll see later, the cast even said it, that, it's not, they're not making a new movie. It's still honoring the vision. It's, it's just some pickups. Yeah. And that was clearly not the case. And they're two filmmakers with very different styles.
Yeah.
I think if Joss Whedon made an entire Justice League movie, I don't think I would like it a whole lot, but...
It wouldn't have been what we got.
Yeah. I think it would have been better than what we got.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was... Here we go. We are in full force. Justice League being Frankensteined. June 15th, 2017, Danny Elfman replaces Junkie XL as the composer of Justice League. Different.
Yes.
Different score. And
what was the sort of quote that you had said about that?
I have a quote when he says it later on. It's right
Gotcha.
here, actually.
Okay.
But Danny Elfman famously composed the original Batman score from Tim Burton.
The Nightmare Before Christmas. And
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Not a bad composer, but especially in a Snyder film, he has distinct music choices for his characters.
Yes.
Man of Steel has one of my favorite soundtracks ever. And the Batman theme and the Wonder Woman theme all come from BVS. So it's a change. Early July 2017. We don't have an exact date for this, but Justice League reshoots begin under Joss Whedon. The reshoots were reported to last for 2 months.
Wow.
That is entire film shooting time.
Yeah.
Now, we know, and you could tell in the movie, but we know that most of the action sequences were kept from Snyder. But the idea, I think we'll see it later, but the idea was that there's like connective tissue that Joss was filming.
Yeah. And
you can kind of see that in the scenes. Like, there are definitely Snyder dialogue scenes. But you can tell that a lot of it is like, this movie needs to be condensed. From what we've heard, the original Snyder film was 3.5 hours. So a lot of it was just, we have to condense this somehow. It was a cleanup job. Anyway, July 21st, 2017. The Hollywood Reporter reports that Ben Affleck is leaving the Batman, as well as the role of the Batman. Which this was, like, after months and months, like maybe a year at this point, of people being like, is he going to be Batman? Is he not going to be Batman? It was kind of exhausting.
Yeah.
And then finally, he's not doing it. July 22nd, 2017.
Yeah.
Justice League cast host a panel for the film at San Diego Comic-Con.
Okay.
And Ben Affleck says, I'm the luckiest guy in the world. Batman is the coolest effing part. There's a misconception that because I wasn't directing it, I wasn't enthusiastic about it, and Matt Reeves is doing it, I would be an effing ape on the ground for Matt Reeves. So, he's doing it? Or he's not doing it?
Okay.
Saga continues.
So, he hasn't said why, or there's been no information as to why Ben Affleck would be leaving the role as Batman.
According to Ben Affleck, he's not leaving.
But even before him saying that, there was no information as to why he would be leaving, right?
Rumors, I think. Just studio insiders and people talking about it.
Okay.
Ray Fisher, this is fun, actually. They come up on stage, there's music playing, whatever. Ray Fisher famously, he wore a shirt a lot that said Borg Life.
Okay.
He plays Cyborg.
Yeah.
He has a Borg Life shirt on. He comes on stage, and he rips it open, and it says, I heart Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
He also says, when asked about the reshoots, he says, I mean, Joss is a great guy, and Zack picked a good person to come in and finish up for him.
Okay.
So not only does WB lie to us, they lie to the cast as well.
Yeah, especially when obviously he's in support for Zack Snyder here. I'm assuming...
Well, and I think the whole cast is very... I mean, by all accounts, Zack Snyder is a very kind and easy to work with filmmaker.
Yeah.
But especially for Ray Fisher and a couple of others in the cast, like, Zack Snyder kind of gave them a career.
Yeah.
Like, Gal Gadot wasn't doing
For
anything
sure.
before Wonder Woman.
Uh-huh.
And, I mean, she was in Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
But Jason Momoa, especially Ray Fisher. Ray Fisher comes from a stage background, which, not to say anything about that, but it's not a blockbuster film set. So, I mean, the highest profile actor I think he cast has been Affleck. So,
I mean, with that, that's like... The studio, I understand why they would be like, yes, Zack Snyder picked this person. Because, one, that gives the fans who don't like Joss Whedon some kind of faith in... They're like, well, I like Zack Snyder, and Zack Snyder said that's okay, so I'm okay with it. And also, the actors saying that this isn't a completely different thing, and it is still the same movie. And so it makes sense from a studio perspective to try to keep that energy there, but it is super disingenuous.
It also gives people who hate Zack Snyder's work someone to go, oh, he made the Avengers. Now I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I especially like to go as far as like at Comic-Con for Ray to say Joss Whedon picked this, or Zack Snyder picked Joss Whedon. I don't know. That's obviously something that has been directly said to them, if he's, like, as far to say that.
Yeah. Throughout the press tour, you could tell that... And, I mean, you could really tell that, especially Ben Affleck, was exhausted. But everybody kind of... There was a sentiment of, like... They weren't proud of the movie.
Especially when you film the movie, and then you do reshoots. And usually reshoots, like... a week.
Yeah.
Like, it's not 2 months.
Right.
You go right back into learning new lines, doing a whole bunch of new scenes and stuff with all the makeup, costume set being there.
And as we know now that we've seen the film, it was very heavily reshot.
Yeah. Especially, like you said, too, that's enough to film your own movie.
Right.
And that would... Especially if they're like, well, we recognize that this dialogue isn't the same and all the characterization that we created is different and everything, the tonality is different. It would just be defeating as an actor to be like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a person who I am a performance major. I act. And if I have a director who gives me conflicting information, it's frustrating because then you're just in this muddy middle ground where you're not proud of what you're doing because you're not connected to it, because you don't have a direct vision.
Well, and something else that I don't have it written on here anywhere, but Zack Snyder said repeatedly that Cyborg is the heart of the film. And I felt like he has the least to do in
He's
theatrical.
Definitely barely involved in the theatrical cut we got.
The cast defend the reshoots, calling them brief and stating that they honor Snyder's vision. That's pretty much all I've got for Comic-Con 2017.
Yeah.
But the whole press tour was kind of that, of what are the reshoots like? Oh, they're not that bad.
Did they finish shooting the reshoots at this point? Or were they still shooting?
No, they were still shooting reshoots.
Okay.
July 24th, 2017. This is fun.
Okay.
I know you know about this, but this is fun. Whedon's reshoots will cost upwards of $25 million, which is not reshoot budget.
And that's definitely not short, filler,
brief
reshoots, whatever.
It's reported that WB will have to digitally remove Henry Cavill's mustache for Justice League after scheduling conflict with Mission Impossible Fallout. So any scene with Superman in it, you can tell if it's a Snyder or Whedon scene because his bottom half of his face looks like plastic if it's a Whedon scene.
That's hilarious. Imagine, like, you film this movie, you're done with it, and then, like, actually come back, and it's like, well, I got this other movie, and reshoots take an astronomically longer time than they should. And now you're doing 2 movies at the same time.
And we heard about this because reports happen from, like, official Hollywood reporters. And, like, we heard about this argument. Paramount was like, no, he has to have this mustache for Mission Impossible Fallout, which, it's a good mustache. I love Fallout. It's a great movie. It's a good mustache. But they said, no, he will have the mustache. And I remember hearing, like, WB would shoot back and be like, well, what if we paid a bunch of money to get the best prosthetic I cannot say mustache. The best prosthetic mustache ever. And Paramount was like, no, we won't. So the ending argument of this was Paramount will give WB a little bit of money to digitally remove Henry Cavill's mustache. And I know I've shown you pictures of it.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy.
There are 2 images of him on set with the stash. They leaked.
It looks pretty goofy with the Superman costume.
It's so weird. He looks like Freddie Mercury.
Yeah, it's funny. Man, imagine like facial hair being that important, but not only like it's their fault for making the reshoots go that long.
Well, and again, this is another thing. This wasn't really a lie, but this was another thing where the fans should have been like, this is going to be a train wreck. Because the mustache thing is ridiculous. And it was funny at the time. It's funny now. But should have seen the signs.
Yeah.
The very first scene of theatrical looks terrible.
I was just about to say, with them, like, it's him on his phone, and it's so obvious. That's the scene where it's definitely most apparent, and it's the first scene of the movie.
Yeah.
Why not just cut that scene? Yeah. It doesn't add, it literally adds 0 to the story.
The first 2 scenes are all Whedon, actually. And the Batman scene on the rooftop with the robber is also Whedon.
Okay.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Variety, a Hollywood Reporter site, they say, sources say that Justice League reshoots have been used to punch up the dialogue. The set pieces Snyder shot are said to be usable, but Whedon has been working on connective tissue that was used to link the sequences.
Okay.
August 10th, 2017. Joe Morton, he plays Silas Stone, Victor's dad. Hold on. Okay. I know that with Ray Fisher, the young man who plays Victor, there were some adjustments that they made in terms of the tone of that character. I think what I heard was that there was a need from the studio to lighten the film up in a way, that the film felt too dark. I don't know what that meant in terms of how it actually got translated in terms of the reshoots, but that's what I heard.
Okay.
So one of the actors says, this character is probably going to be different.
And that's in reference to Cyborg. Cyborg, the character who's the most brooding and least lighthearted and fun character in that whole movie. They reshot him to make him more light and fun. Okay.
Yeah. And from what we've heard, Cyborg has a lot of material in the Snyder Cut that is darker. Like, you see his accident happen, and you know, get more of his past.
I mean, in Batman vs. Superman, the video of him, like, reassembling is horrifying. And it's supposed to be. I don't know. It's still odd.
Yeah. August 11th, 2017. On the reshoots, Ben Affleck tells Entertainment Weekly, it's a little bit unorthodox. Zack had a family tragedy and stepped off, which is horrible. For the movie, the best person we could have possibly found was Joss. We really got lucky that he stepped in. It's an interesting product of 2 directors, both with a kind of unique visions, both with really strong takes. I've never had that experience before making a movie. I have to say, I really love working with Zack, and I really love the stuff we've done with Joss. Okay. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how much truth there is to that. Here's the thing. We're gonna get into some of the on-set stuff with Whedon later, but apparently Whedon was not fun to work with, and by all accounts, Zack Snyder is fun enough to work with that Ben Affleck, despite having left the role for 2 years, shot additional material for the Snyder Cut. So, don't know how much truth there is to that.
Interesting. I wonder if the studio had pressured them to try and boost Whedon.
There were a lot of time. I'm surprised how public they went with Whedon, because I mean, obviously you would hear about it, but like he doesn't get a directing credit for the movie. It still says directed by Zack Snyder, but he gets a screenwriting credit for the film. Okay. But I'm surprised at how public they went with it, especially with, you know, them going so far to be like, it's just some pickups. It's not that big of a deal. Yeah. Interesting. A lot of the press tour for Justice League was also like, there were some rehearsed lines. Like, there were some lines from Affleck and Gadot, like all of them that we heard a few times. Yeah. Anyway, this was the quote I was talking about here. October 31st, 2017. Danny Elfman says, "No, you will not hear a new theme for Batman. You will hear Batman's theme for Batman." When he was asked if he meant the Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL Batman theme for BVS, Elfman added, "You'll hear Batman's theme. Batman has only had one theme. Now, Hans has done some wonderful, very driving, rhythmic stuff, but there's only ever been one theme, and it's my Batman theme."
How pompous is that?
Dude.
Bruh.
What a doof.
Mm-hmm. What a dinky doofy mean.
Well, but really though,
yeah, I mean,
how is it hard to see that tonally that Batman theme doesn't work? I love that Batman theme; it's iconic, but doesn't work for Ben Affleck's Batman.
Imagine not only saying that yours is the only Batman theme, but this version of Batman,
which is a lie.
Yeah,
which is definitely not true.
100% not true. There's been many themes before.
So many
Danny
themes,
even touched the Batman.
Even in the live action versions, there's the Hans Zimmer one, there's the Junkie XL one. Post him, there's the ones in the Joel Schumacher movies. Like
my main problem with this is that this version of Batman is the Batman that is tied to the cinematic universe of The Flash, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and all these other characters. Danny Elfman's version of Batman is not tied to that cinematic universe. So why would you use someone else's, a different version of Batman's theme for this version of Batman?
Also very tonally different.
Yes.
And it's not as if this is a new version of Batman. We got a movie with him where he had his own, like, musical themes and motifs.
Yeah.
Like, it's strange.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to say.
Especially when there's already so much controversy on who is doing what and who gets credit for what. It's just, it seems to me pompous, especially to say there's only ever been one. That's...
Especially when it was also very public information that Junkie XL had a score for this film that he was taken off of.
That's like Beyonce singing the national anthem at like some Super Bowl, and then they're like, "Oh, which version did you do?" And like, the only version that exists, mine. Like that's so arrogant.
I will also say, justice has been served. Junkie XL is scoring Zack Snyder's Justice.
Okay.
All right. November 6th, 2017. It's reported that Kevin Tsujihara, who was an executive at WB at the time, he's not anymore, he mandated that Justice League's runtime does not exceed 2 hours. The final runtime of the film is 1 hour, 59 minutes.
That's like when they say your word count is 2,000, and you're like exactly at 2,000.
You're like 2001.
Bruh.
Yeah. Oof. Also,
and you can really feel that in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, it's so rushed. It moves at a clip, but not in a good way.
And there's a lot of stuff that's so weird that they limited it to 2 hours. And there is all this extra stuff that doesn't need to be there. Like the scene with Lois in like the office or whatever, and they make like the sex joke about her being thirsty or something. Like completely unnecessary. That doesn't need to be there. Yeah. But the scene where which I know we haven't got the Snyder Cut. I just feel like there's so many scenes that could be cut that don't need to be there.
Here's something. The only deleted scene that was included on the disc for the film was a Snyder scene of Superman returning to this universe's version of the Fortress of Solitude, which is the crashed Kryptonian ship, and getting the suit. And he meets with Alfred and he talks to him. And it's a charming scene. Like, even as a Snyder scene, he's smiling, he's cheesing a little bit. Like, and it's crazy that the film couldn't even use a minute-long scene for that.
But it can use like a 3-minute long scene of Lois at the
it's that's crazy. And I know it's because they wanted to sell more tickets. It's not a tactic that works. November 17th, 2017, the day of reckoning. Justice League is released in theaters to extremely poor reviews. I'll say better reviews than BVS somehow.
Really?
Yeah.
I only heard I guess not. I heard a lot of people say, it was fine, but I did hear a lot more people say BVS was bad.
I say poor reviews were better than BVS, but that is like 32% Rotten Tomatoes versus like 40% Rotten Tomatoes.
I feel like most of the people I talked to about it were a lot less like, oh, that movie was awful about it, but I didn't hear much hype after the movie came out, at all.
To this day, I mean, this movie has garnered a lot of attention because of the Snyder Cut. And that's not to say nobody saw it at all, but I know a lot of people who I brought it up to. It's like, they made a Justice League movie?
Yeah. That was a very common occurrence.
Especially after Wonder Woman was a smash hit. You would have thought people showed up for this.
Yeah.
Also, sandwiched between Marvel movies. I mean, came out right after Thor Ragnarok. Came out a few months before Infinity War.
Yeah.
Which I know Infinity War was always going to be a bigger movie than the first Justice League movie, but Infinity War cracks $2 billion, and we'll talk about Justice League's box office later, but it did worse than Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
It was a catastrophe.
That's insane.
And for fans, which it took me probably a week or so to let it sink in, but for fans, it was pretty clear that they lied.
Yeah.
This isn't a Zack Snyder movie.
Yeah.
November 21st, 2017. This one's fun. Twitter user @MoviesThatMayher retweets. Movies That Mayher tweets hashtag release the Snyder Cut for the very first time.
Okay.
In the coming years, there's heated debate over whether the Snyder Cut even exists. And this was the hashtag that it was on everything.
That's crazy.
Everything was every time it trended, every time the fanbase talked about it, every time a photo was released, it was up until the film was announced to actually be happening. It was release the Snyder Cut,
and that's only a week after the movie comes out.
Right.
Huh.
Hashtag release the Snyder Cut was everywhere for 2 years.
Huh.
November 22nd, 2017. Joss Whedon's ex-wife, Kai Cole, accuses Whedon of emotional abuse, cheating, and calls him a hypocrite preaching feminist ideals. Oop.
And
one of the first new Joss Whedon accusations. He's a bad guy.
Yes.
Joss Whedon sucks.
And that is very clear now.
Yeah. It will become more clear as we continue.
Yes.
But first strikes at Joss Whedon. February 14th, 2018. This is 2 months after the film comes out. Ciaran Hinds, who plays Steppenwolf, he says, "That wasn't the movie I worked on so hard. We hope the director's cut comes out because it was better than the movie in theaters."
Yeah. Well, there's a confirmation of the Snyder Cut existing.
It exists.
Yeah.
Again, this wasn't a debate over whether or not it will come out. People were debating on whether or not Snyder even shot the movie he wanted to shoot, whether or not there was a cut, whether or not what state it was in. It evolved. The conversation changed over the years, but you said, part confirmation that in some form it exists.
A different movie was supposed to happen.
Yeah. March 5th, 2018. This is the beginning of the Vero chapter of our little video here. Zack Snyder shares an image of Kiersey Clem's Iris West on Vero. So Vero is a social media site that Zack Snyder uses. He's like the only person who uses it at all. But this is a picture of Iris West in the film.
Okay.
I couldn't find a date for it, but sometime around here, some pre-viz scenes leak. So there's a scene where Cyborg is showing the Justice League, the history of the mother boxes, and a scene where the Flash saves Iris West. But they're pre-viz, so they're not, super developed.
Yeah. Interesting.
But Iris West in the film.
She's very pretty.
Yes. These are, also, almost every picture Snyder puts out from his movies are in black and white.
Interesting.
March 8th, 2018, Snyder shares an image of a cut Lois and Martha scene. We're gonna be doing this a lot. Also, it's just being he puts out a picture. Not in the movie, and as far as we know, was replaced by the thirsty scene.
Okay, so I understand.
Weirdly, again, we'll see it when the film comes out, but this scene looks very tender.
Yeah.
And emotional.
It's at their home, and in this movie we see Martha have to sell the home, and then Clark gets it back.
Yeah.
Which you think would be a very emotional thing for it to be included at all. Which it wasn't. It wasn't integral to Martha's character, it wasn't integral to Lois's character. They weren't part of the movie, really. It was just a thing that happened, and it was immediately fixed upon Superman coming back to life. So obviously there's more intention for that story beat if this picture is here. Yeah.
March 20th, 2018, Justice League ends its box office run at a catastrophic $657,924,295.
Only that much?
Making it, at that time, the lowest grossing DC Extended Universe film.
That's crazy. Less than Green Lantern?
Yes.
Wow.
DC Extended Universe.
Okay.
Not less than Green Lantern. I don't know what Green Lantern made, but definitely not.
I was going to say, Green Lantern was not a popular... Like, even, like, when the ads were out, people weren't hyped to see it. So.
We could find out, but
yeah.
I'm pretty sure this made more than Green Lantern. But,
yeah.
From Man of Steel to now. This movie's been superseded by that. Shazam cost a lot less to make, but made less. Which Shazam was a hit and is getting a sequel.
Yeah.
Birds of Prey.
This is a team-up movie that's supposed to be on the same level as Avengers.
This is the DC team meeting for the very first time after the success of Wonder Woman, and it bombed. Yeah. Especially when you calculate box office, or when you calculate a film's budget. Usually you have the production budget and then you double it for the marketing.
Yeah.
But this film had the production budget and then reshoots, heavy reshoots.
And both of those had different marketing.
Yes. And there was a lot of stuff with the reshoots. Like, they had to develop technology to cover up the mustache. This movie was so expensive, and if it made its budget back, which it probably did, it's $6.5 million, but if it did, it's cutting it close, dude. This was a massive failure, and I think for a long time this was WB's, like, A, we've got to do things differently. B, what in the world would have happened if we had put out a 3-hour movie as opposed to a not even 2-hour one.
What's insane to me is that they spent this much money, this much time, this much effort on making what we got. And
well, first of all, that they took all that money and time and made what we got in the first place.
Which is insane. Like, to me, it's so poorly edited in a lot of moments. Like, there's the scene where the Flash falls on Wonder Woman and she's kind of like, does a little smile thing at him. That's so poorly edited. Like, he falls on her, millisecond later, cuts to a different shot that's obviously not from that scene, which I know we're going to talk about.
We can talk about why that happened.
I'm just saying, that's so poorly edited that it's like, it looks like me, with very minimal editing skill, could have done that. It's just, if you have this much budget on a movie, and there's all these scenes that are like, kind of choppily put together, and there's certain moments where, like, different cuts to different shots just don't flow together very well. Yeah. And you can very much so tell that's there. And they spent this much money on it?
This was a massive failure. This was a laughingstock. All right. April 21st, 2018, Snyder shares an image of Commissioner Gordon and Batman captioned, "First of all, I shot it." And I don't have an exact date on, like, some of the Twitter trends and stuff, but I feel like this was probably a pushback at people being like, "Oh, this doesn't exist," and it does, clearly. Yeah. Also, what a cool Batman shot of him standing on the gargoyle in front of the lightning.
I remember when you watched it, you mentioned that moment being there.
Well, so here's something. For some reason, in theatrical, there's a shot, and you see it in one of the trailers for even the original film. You see Batman standing on the gargoyle, and it's sick, and there's lightning behind him. And then in the movie, this tarp is, like, floating in front of it. It's like, why would you obscure Batman standing on a gargoyle?
Especially, like, one of, like, film 101, if you want someone to focus on something, there should not be movement anywhere else on the screen. Otherwise, your eye is going to go to the movement that is happening. And it's distracting. And just, like, that's another one of those shots that I'm like, it just looks poorly edited. It looks like... I know it's physically there, but it almost looks like the flapping thing is, like, edited in, like it's trying to hide something or something like that. Yeah. Like, the perspective is just weird, and it makes Batman look not good. Yeah.
Like, a lot of things in that movie makes Batman not look good. April 30th, 2018, Snyder shares an image of a cut Wonder Woman scene. This one. She's standing in a hall holding a torch.
Interesting. Which is probably when they send her the warning.
Yeah.
Or sometime
probably
around
so.
then.
You see this in the Snyder Cut trailer as well. She's like looking at a mural with Darkseid on it. So maybe this is like a transition into the history lesson or whatever. We don't really know, but definitely was not in the film that we got.
It's interesting that Zack Snyder's posting these pictures and everything. That means, you know, he has access to at least things that he appreciated in his version of it. And he's posting it not because, like, oh, look at this, this is my cut, but just be like, this is a shot I'm proud of and I'm posting about a friend or whatever in this thing.
Well, and here's something that we'll talk about later, but at this point in time, he has the movie. He has his cut of the film. It's not done, of course, but he has it with him.
Yeah.
Fans fly a Release the Snyder Cut banner behind a plane over the Warner Brothers lot. Snyder responds, "That is caring."
That's funny, and also just like,
I think on this day they also had some people like outside the Warner Brothers like headquarters being like they had a banner maybe with cosplayers or whatever. Yeah, it was pretty cool to see online.
Imagine like working at Warner Brothers and you're just like, actually, no. Like, obviously the people care a lot for this movie, and you can make money off of it. Sell it.
I think that is part of the reason why they're doing it on HBO Max. I think it's accessible now to go, the fundamentally different movie that we can put some money into and then get a brand new movie out of. Like, I think that was why we're getting it.
For sure. Especially since it can't be released in theaters right now.
Well, especially because a lot of things can't go into production right now. Which, I mean, things are in production right now, but...
COVID gave us the Snyder Cut?
COVID actually was a reason why the studio was like, let's back up, because they were doing it at this point. It hadn't been announced yet, but when COVID happened, the studio was like, well, maybe this isn't the right time. And I remember there was a report that Snyder was like, no, like, now is great, because we can just do this at our homes. Like, we don't have to go into production at all.
Post-production is all digital. You don't have to be at the studio to do that.
Which they did end up shooting additional material. But January 10th, 2019, Snyder begins his T-shirt campaign on Ink to the People, which is a charity shirt site.
Okay.
All proceeds on the merchandise go to the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. The first shirt hinted at the untold story of Justice League and Justice League Part 2. So... yeah, Snyder starts this campaign online to, he starts selling these T-shirts, and all the profit goes to suicide prevention. And we'll talk about, you know, what this campaign ended up doing, but this was big for the fans.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting merch for a movie that didn't even come out. And, like, I think every... Snyder Cut fan. Of course, there's the toxic fans. There always has been. But I feel like every fan was like, yes. Like, you know, especially, you know, of course, the charity is because of what happened with his daughter.
Yeah.
But I think every fan was on board because of that. They were like, of course, of course we want to donate to that. So,
especially when, you know, Zack Snyder did put his heart into making part of this movie, and then losing, you know, a daughter in that. So he's
losing a daughter and losing passion for this film at a point, at least.
And not necessarily losing. We don't know if he lost passion for it, but he lost the movie that he was making. Yeah,
definitely lost the will to fight the studio over it.
And it's, you know, him putting those two things in a shirt, and that it's good to see that the fan base was so supportive of it.
And this wasn't the last shirt. Kept putting out some shirts. I have one of them. I don't know if I have it listed here, but when the movie was announced, like officially, he put out a shirt. Maybe it was before that. I don't know, but it was a shirt that has the Justice League logo, and then in between the film logo has a star between the J and the L. It's a heart instead. And it has like these like flowers and stuff, and it has an A, which the fans are like, I assume that's for autumn. And on the back it says associate producer. It has a spot where you can put your name. And basically the idea was like, everyone who donated to this is an associate producer on Zack Snyder's Justice League. So like everyone on Twitter, including myself, have associate producer of Zack Snyder's Justice League in their bio.
That's cute.
January 30th, 2019. Ben Affleck officially leaves Batman.
Took him that long.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is more than a year after the film came out, and this is about 2 years after rumors started spreading. Crazy amount of time. This was when Pattinson hadn't been cast yet. He just said, like, pass the torch. Mm-hmm. And, of course, we're getting Robert Pattinson's The Batman, which I'm very excited for.
We've seen so many different Batman at this point. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
I think with his struggles with... Again, he was done.
Yeah.
He was done. Mm-hmm. But, he's done. He's done being Batman. March 22nd through 25th, 2019, Zack Snyder hosts a Director's Cut charity event at the Arts Center College of Design in Pasadena, California. This event included showings of Snyder's cuts for Dawn of the Dead, Watchmen, and Batman v Superman, as well as Q&A events for each film. He also talked at length about the plans for Justice League Part 2. At the event, Snyder said to a fan, "All I can say is, sure, there's a cut. It's done. I have a cut. I have a bunch of them. So it's like, it's up to them." Mm-hmm. So... I of course I wasn't at this event, but I remember I was like on social media all 3 nights being like, did he say anything? On the BVS night, he talked Justice League Part 2, which was kind of crazy. Like just hearing it from him being like, whoa, like that is what they were planning on doing? Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Huh. Snyder has famously not seen Justice League theatrical. Yeah. So, no word on that side of things, but... So this was Zack Snyder like being in public again, which is kind of crazy in and of itself. Mm-hmm. But B, again, known to be a very very friendly individual. Mm-hmm. I saw all these posts of like, oh, I got a selfie with him. Oh, I hung out with him for a little bit. I had a drink with him. Like, and Larry Fong, his cinematographer, was there. A few other people were there, producers and stuff. Have
Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder ever publicly shown any kind of beef or discontent towards one another?
There have been rumblings behind the scenes that Joss really hated Snyder's work, his DC work. Yeah. I don't know about the rest of it. Snyder, I don't think he's said anything directly about Joss Whedon. I know he said he met with him once when they were doing the production, when they were switching directors for Justice League. I think we'll talk about a quote that Snyder said about Joss's movie, but it wasn't about Joss. It was more about the film itself.
I was going to say, I think there's a couple quotes where he seems pretty adverse to the movie that Joss made, but...
He's not said anything about Joss. I don't think it would be problematic for him to say something about Joss, given that Joss is a bad dude. Yeah. But this was like, I've seen the video. You can still see the video of Snyder being like, yeah, I've got a cut. It exists. So now we've heard it from multiple people, including the director. It exists. Mm-hmm. March 26th, 2019, Snyder reveals that the runtime of his film is 214 minutes. So that's 3.5 hours.
Mm-hmm. That's a much longer movie than what we got.
Yeah. April 14th, 2019, Snyder reveals that Ray Porter plays Darkseid in his version of the film. That's also a Darkseid reveal. We didn't know that he was going to be in the movie. June 16th, 2019, Snyder shares an image of Cyborg having a vision of involving his parents, as well as the first image of Darkseid. So this is the Cyborg image. Looks like he's in some sort of wasteland realm. Yeah. And Darkseid.
Wow.
Like, just like that.
Yeah.
Which again was crazy. Another character completely cut out of the film we got. This is one of my favorite things. Snyder has a tendency to like shoot at, especially at this time was like, this is what I did in my movie. And July 20th, 2019, Snyder shares previs of Wonder Woman decapitating Steppenwolf. And he says, not sure how they killed Steppenwolf in the theatrical cut of Justice League, which they didn't. This was never finished all the way, but I use gods to kill gods.
Wow.
So you can see this previs of Wonder Woman leaping, and that's in the film. And then, she plays him.
Decapitation. Dang.
Which was not what we got.
Yeah, I mean, in Wonder Woman, she's called the God Killer.
Yeah.
Like, that's her thing. So to have her not ever kill any god, like, I mean, Ares, I guess, but... Yeah.
August 2nd, 2019, Kevin Smith, famous filmmaker, says, I've spoken to enough people now at various levels in that production. There is a Snyder Cut, for sure. It's not a mythical beast. It exists. Now, it's not a finished movie by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. Okay. Kind of what we thought, but another echo of it's real.
Yeah.
October 5th, 2019. Snyder shares storyboards of a scene with Martian Manhunter, captioned, "This is probably something you didn't know. I was able to shoot all of it except for the Harry Lennox side. It was my intention to shoot that in LA." So, this film involved the Martian Manhunter.
A whole, very integral part to the Justice League, not completely cut out of the movie.
Yeah.
That's insane. Also, that's your TikTok profile picture, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It was. It's not anymore.
Yeah, it used to be.
This image of Manhunter.
I thought that was like a third grader's drawing of Martian Manhunter.
It's Zack Snyder's storyboard. Same day, actually, fans buy a bus stop as well as a billboard in Times Square on the weekend of New York Comic Con. The billboard boasted the 3.5-hour untold story of Justice League, as well as the hashtag "Release the Snyder Cut."
Wow, that's astronomically expensive.
So, yeah. Times Square billboard.
On Comic Con?
Yeah.
That's insane. How much? They must have had a heck of GoFundMe going.
Yeah. Snyder responds, "This is truly amazing. I'm speechless and humbled by the love and support. Thank you."
Yeah.
This is the billboard. Okay. It switched. It even switched. It had Ciaran Hinds quote on it. It had Jason Momoa saying they should release the movie. They should have. I've left some quotes out here too. Like Jason Momoa and Ray Fisher were especially vocal about wanting the movie out.
Yeah.
Here's a picture of the bus stop.
Man.
Yeah. So expensive.
Yeah, definitely. Just shows how the heart and the outcry that people had for this movie.
Yeah. November 2nd, 2019, Jason Momoa says in an MTV interview, "I have seen the Snyder Cut. I think the public needs to see it. I'm obviously indebted to Warner Brothers and DC. I don't know how they feel about it. As a fan, I'm very, very happy I got to see it."
See, my thing is, the Justice League is supposed to be like the Avengers of the DC in the sense of scale and how important and how dedicated the fans are. People showed up for every single Avengers movie, whether it was good or not.
Yeah.
With Justice League, it could have been that, but obviously what we're seeing here is all this intervention just weighed it way down.
And I don't know how the box office would have done if it was a Snyder movie. It might have, people might have hated it again. It might have done even worse. But again, it's different. They're not the same movie.
I don't even think it's necessarily that Snyder wasn't Snyder's movie. I think it's just that after adding Joss Whedon in and then making this Frankenstein of a movie, there just wasn't enough of a core to support this movie. And so it feels like I said, like a Frankenstein of a movie rather than a movie.
Again, Jason Momoa says in an MTV interview, it exists. Also, again, no real dates for this, but so many times, Release the Snyder Cut's trended. The fan base did days that were themed on different characters. We're posting pictures of this character today, and they had huge fan campaigns online about it. You go back through my tweets. I'm sure I've tweeted Release the Snyder Cut 500 times. Yeah. November 13th, 2019, Snyder shares an image of a cutscene where Cyborg battles Steppenwolf, captioned, "Defending the Father." This is interesting to note. In whatever state this movie was in, Snyder's film had
the old armor.
The Steppenwolf design from theatrical. So the studio had him change it to that.
Interesting.
Before he left the project.
So the armor that was in BVS is not that armor, right? When it hints at it. Okay.
It's the design from the movie we're getting, the Snyder Cut.
Okay, gotcha.
November 13th, 2019. This is the day after this. Oh, no. This is November 15th. So it's day by day, more stuff is being shared. Things are kind of ramping up right now. Snyder shares a previs image of the death of Superman, captioned, "He has yet to rise."
Huh.
Of course, we see this shot in the trailer for the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
And it's finished. It's not previs.
Yeah.
November 17th, 2019. This is the second anniversary of the film releasing. Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck, Ray Fisher, and Jason Momoa, and some others, tweet #release the Snyder Cut as the hashtag reaches its peak. So, the stars and Snyder shared photos from Snyder's version of the film. So they all put out a picture of it, and they all tweeted it. Mind you, WB is not intending to put out the movie at this point. So this is real Hollywood actors, like
getting involved
in it. This is the first time Ben Affleck has even talked about it. And like I said, this was the biggest this hashtag has ever been.
Yeah.
And also a statistic that came out that day: Zack Snyder's Justice League is the most tweeted about Warner Brothers movie of all time. At this point in time, when it didn't exist.
Yeah.
When it hadn't been announced.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane. And obviously the actors wouldn't get involved if they too didn't care about this movie. And
especially Ben Affleck, who is done with Batman.
And they're seeing all these fans, like, how passionate they are for this movie.
Yeah.
And then, they get involved, and surely Warner Bros. Wouldn't have done anything. They could have just pretended like none of this didn't exist if the actors didn't get involved. Yeah. And the actors here, again, because they care about this movie, force them to get involved, obviously.
Yeah. They all put out pictures. Jason Momoa put out a picture of Aquaman like stabbing at Steppenwolf. It was a pretty cool day. Like, everyone tweeted about Snyder Cut this day. It was bigger than it ever had been. Late November 2019. This was information that we obviously didn't know at this time, but Warner Brothers approaches Snyder about releasing the film. So somebody saw this, right? Somebody saw this giant outpouring of fans and stars talking about this movie and said, you know what? I think it could be time to do this. Which is cool.
Yeah.
December 4th, 2019. This was hype. This was crazy hype. Snyder posted an image of the film reel for his cut of Justice League captioned, "Is it real? Does it exist? Of course it does." Which was crazy.
Yeah. It makes me wonder, like, how much of Zack Snyder's plan was kind of to hype up this mystery thing, if that was intentional or not.
Definitely he played a part in, like, I don't think the fans would have been nearly as passionate about it if they hadn't been, fed by the idea that this is a different movie. Not just tonally, but entire characters were cut out of this movie.
For sure.
December 5th, 2019, Fabian Wagner, original cinematographer for Justice League, says, "The movie that was in cinema was 10% of what we shot.
Wow.
Everything else is a reshoot. If there is a Snyder Cut, I hope it's better than the one that is out now." December 6th, 2019. This is funny. This is just goofy. Ben Affleck tweets, "Today is #Giving Tuesday, and I'm proud to support @Feeding America, and an organization helping hungry families across the country. Join me in donating." @Retweet Snyder Cut. Big proponent for this whole thing. Quote tweets and says, "Hey, @Subway, how many retweets for 10,000 sandwiches for hungry families during the holiday period?" And one tweet with #Release the Snyder Cut. And Subway, I'm talking blue checkmark Subway, tweets back, "So you're fast. And since you did it under 214 minutes, we are going to up the donations to 15,000 subs. And oh yeah, #Release the Snyder Cut."
Oh.
Subway! December 12th, 2019, Snyder reveals that in his film, Superman would wear the black suit with an image captioned, "My Superman." This was big.
Oh, that looks so much better.
Again, black suit. Like,
the
something that wasn't in the movie.
In the very first scene, the first thing I noticed, I was like, why does his suit look like a Party City costume? Like, the lighting, reflects everything. It looks like there's no actual definition. It looks like it's, painted on.
So we learned later that the studio didn't... One of the battles with the studio was that they didn't want the black suit because it was a little too dark.
Yeah.
And so Snyder was like, okay, well, how about this? I'm going to get my costume people to develop a new costume that would make it easier to digitally make it black and silver. So Snyder shot in the blue and red suits.
So there's so much lighting technique, especially blue is a way different shooting than black. Black absorbs a lot more color. So if he had the intention of this is going to be black, he's going to shoot with different lighting.
And you can tell in theatrical that the lighting was definitely off with the reshoots because and even the color grading, but you can tell Superman's suit again. It looks goofy and it looks like it doesn't look like it has muscle definition. It looks like it has padding.
Yeah. I guess that looking like a Party City suit, and I worked at Party City, so I can say that. January
21st, 2020. Ryan Choi, the Atom. He's probably not the Atom in the movie, but he's revealed to be in the movie.
Probably setting up that he will become the Atom later.
Right. February 29th, 2020, Snyder hosts a fan poster contest, the prize being a film slate. Mm-hmm. And I have an image of the film slate right here. It says, scene, something cool with Batman, Superman, Lois, or Martian Manhunter. Huh. And the back of the slate says, please extend to the bearer of this suite the right to pass all security protocols and the permission to operate this motion picture scene and sync marker on the day of any additional photography for the motion picture known as Zack Snyder's Justice League, in the unlikely and purely speculative event that such photography is needed.
Zack
Snyder. Mm-hmm. And the winner of the fan poster was
Captain Cold. Or that's what's his name? Iceman?
It's definitely Darkseid, though.
No way. That's Darkseid. I know nothing about Darkseid, okay?
Also, he posted this meme.
All meat, no cheese. No bologna.
No bologna. Just very goofy. Mm-hmm. May 20th, 2020, big day. Mm-hmm. Snyder hosts an online director's commentary of Man of Steel, where Zack Snyder's Justice League is announced, coming to HBO Max in 2021. This is it.
That's the announcement.
That was the announcement.
And at this point, we know that there's supposed to be Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, several other characters that are added. Yeah. But
so we'll say this. I woke up very early on Saturday morning to watch my DVD of Man of Steel alongside the director's cut. Filmans, they're doing a director's Q&A. They have all these fans who are fans, of course, but they're also specific people from, like, I wouldn't say famous people, but like big names in the release of Snyder Cut stuff online. They were in the thing. They were talking to him, and Henry Cavill was there. And there was this big moment where he turned the camera around, and it showed the poster, and it was cool. I have my own video of when it happened, because you could just tell, like, a couple days before when it was gearing up, I said, I think it could happen. I really, like, we were talking about, like, I think it could genuinely happen right now. And I remember it kept happening, and it kept happening, and then I was filming, and it was like, it's gonna happen, and it did.
Dang.
It did, and it was huge. This thing blew up.
Yeah.
Again, the most tweeted about WB movie of all time.
Yeah.
And just now it exists.
And it's been building for what, like 4 years now? 3 years?
3 years. Yeah.
That's a long time to wait for this, like, for it to be announced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
June 29th, 2020. This is a new chapter in the saga. Ray Fisher tweets retracting a positive statement he made on Joss Whedon at San Diego Comic-Con 2017.
Dang.
For one thing, the cast and crew were told that Zack had handpicked Joss to finish the film for him. I didn't find out until after the reshoots that was a complete lie. I heard whispers and rumblings of things being off behind the scenes, but nothing concrete until much later. They had us go out to San Diego Comic-Con in 2017 and say Zack picked Joss and that Joss is a great guy. I still have the email with those talking points.
Dang. Straight up exposed right there.
Ray Fisher spills the tea for the next year. July 1st, 2020, Ray Fisher tweets, Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. He was enabled by many ways in many ways by Jeff Johns and John Berg, who you'll know as the watchdogs who were on set with Snyder. It's also reported that Whedon threatened Gal Gadot's career if she didn't film the Flash Wonder Woman boob scene. She refused, and the scene was shot with a double without Gadot's knowledge. Warner Brothers announces an animated Frosty the Snowman film starring Jason Momoa.
Okay.
Now, that might not seem relevant just yet.
Okay.
July 25th, 2020, a fan event, JusticeCon, is held on Zoom and YouTube with guests Zack Snyder, Ray Porter, who plays Darkseid, and Ray Fisher. This was just a fun fan event. We got to see some footage of the black suit. It wasn't like a huge thing because, again, it was a fan event, but I do remember there was a question asked to Zack, like, are you going to use any footage from Whedon? And I've told you about this before, but he said, I would rather set the movie on fire than do that.
Yeah.
So, definitely no reshot scenes.
This is the first time that he's been very much like
frick
that movie, get it out of here.
Yeah,
I want my movie.
He's been very vocal about I didn't see it.
Yes,
but this was the first time he's like, no way. August 20th, 2020. This is a couple months after Ray starts saying some stuff. WB launches an independent investigation into Justice League's production. Ray Fisher tweets, after 5 weeks of interviews with various cast and crew members, Warner Media has officially launched an independent third-party investigation to get to the heart of the toxic and abusive work environment created during the Justice League reshoots. It's a massive step forward. I believe this investigation will show that Jeff Johns, Joss Whedon, John Berg, and others grossly abused their power during the uncertainty of AT&T's merger with Time Warner. They bought
especially with that scene of Wonder Woman where they were like, you have to film this or we're firing you, and she said no, and they did it anyway, which is insane. Like, I could not imagine someone else's likeliness for a slight sexual joke. That's not even funny. It's, again, that is the one moment of the whole movie where I was very much like, this is so poorly edited. You can tell the moment that it changes from Gal Gadot actually being there to not, and then you can tell that the scene where it is actually Gal Gadot reacting to it or whatever, it's not her. She doesn't say any words. There's no even like recorded voice exasperation. It's mixed poorly. It's ridiculous that they would want to so badly include that scene, and even though it's a bad scene.
And as far as problematic stuff in Justice League, there's the thirsty joke. And there's more. It's so clear that Joss Whedon was not the right choice now.
But at least like the thirsty joke wasn't edited to look like a 2-year-old edited it. That scene, why would you be so adamant to not only go against the person's wishes, but also have it poorly edited in the movie?
And Joss Whedon also used that joke already.
In Avengers Ultron with Hulk, and it wasn't funny then either. It was...
All right. Same day, by the way. And you might sense a pattern here. Ben Affleck reportedly joins The Flash. So Ben Affleck is back as Batman.
Yeah. Okay.
August 22nd, 2020, Zack Snyder's Justice League teaser trailer is released at the DC Fandom event. DC Fandom was big.
Especially, I imagine, with this announcement going on.
Yeah. Well, the trailer for the Batman came out that day, too. DC Fandom was like a cool thing that they did. Ooh. September 4th, 2020. Ray Fisher tweets, after speaking out about Justice League, I received a phone call from the president of DC Films wherein he attempted to throw Joss Whedon and John Berg under the bus in the hopes that I would relent on Jeff Johns. I will not. Warner Brothers retorts, this is a long one, so feel free to interject whenever you need to. In July, Ray Fisher's representatives asked DC Films president Walter Hamada to talk to Mr. Fisher about his concerns during the production of Justice League. The two had previously spoke when Mr. Hamada asked him to reprise his role as Cyborg in Warner Brothers' upcoming Flash movie, together with the other members of the Justice League. In their July conversation, Mr. Fisher recounted disagreements he had with the film's creative team regarding his portrayal of Cyborg and complained that his suggested script revisions were not adopted. Mr. Hamada explained that creative differences are a normal part of the production process and that the film's writer-director ultimately has to be in charge of these matters. Notably, Mr. Hamada also told Mr. Fisher that he would elevate his concerns to Warner Media so they could conduct an investigation. At no time did Mr. Hamada ever throw anyone under the bus, as Mr. Fisher has falsely claimed, or render any judgments about the Justice League production, which Mr. Hamada had no involvement in since filming occurred before Mr. Hamada was elevated to his current position. While Mr. Fisher has never alleged any actionable misconduct against him, Warner Media nonetheless initiated an investigation into the concerns he'd raised about his character's portrayal. Still not satisfied, Mr. Fisher insisted that Warner Media hire an independent third-party investigator. The investigator has attempted multiple times to meet with Mr. Fisher to discuss his concerns, but to date, Mr. Fisher has declined to speak to the investigator. Warner Brothers remains committed to accountability and to the well-being of every cast and crew member on each of its productions. It also remained committed to investigating any specific and credible allegation of the misconduct, which thus far Mr. Fisher has failed to provide. Ray Fisher said, "Actually, I did talk to the investigator. I have been very involved in this investigation."
What do they think? Do you think the most vocal person so far about all of this is just going to be like, yeah, they lied, and I'm just not going to say anything about it? Obviously, the truth is going to come out that they lied about him talking to the investigators. Why?
And this is another thing of just, dang, like he was going to be Cyborg in the Flash movie, and now he's not? Question mark. September 14th, 2020. Back to it.
Yeah.
Jason Momoa posts on Instagram, "This S-word has to stop and needs to be looked at. Ray Fisher and everyone else who experienced what happened under the watch of Warner Brothers need a proper investigation. I just think it's effed up that people release a fake Frosty announcement without my permission to try to distract from Ray Fisher speaking up about the S-word way we were treated on the Justice League reshoots. Serious stuff went down. It needs to be investigated by people, and they need to be held accountable. I stand with Ray Fisher."
If the whole cast is coming out about all this right now, do they really think that they can just keep that under wraps and pretend like, no, nothing happened, he didn't talk to investigators, it's not a problem, we are upholding this conduct or whatever?
Not only that, but coordinated press releases to distract from Ray Fisher's allegations.
They're like, yeah,
you'll note that the second time he tweeted, Ben Affleck was renounced to be in The Flash.
That's ridiculous.
The point, that one was real, but Jason Momoa saying, "I'm not in a Frosty movie."
Yeah, that's insane. You think that they don't have social media? You don't think people are going to listen to them?
Yeah,
they are the face and voice of your movie, and you're treating them like that.
And Aquaman was a smash hit. Think about this. Justice League bombed. Aquaman made $1 billion.
Yeah.
It was a huge hit. So, Jason Momoa's got some backing on his side.
For sure.
October 6th, 2020, Zack Snyder's Justice League begins additional photography with Ben Affleck, Ray Fisher, which, Ben Affleck, that's huge. I know he's returning for The Flash, but whoa.
Yeah.
Ray Fisher, Jared Leto.
Okay.
The Joker.
Yeah.
Problematic. Amber Heard. Yikes.
When is this?
This is October 6th, 2020.
Okay.
Yikes. Yeah. Harry Lennox, Martian Manhunter, and Ezra Miller, who Snyder directed over Zoom.
Okay.
He was on set of the next Fantastic Beasts movie, I think.
Interesting.
I think they had to, do that digitally.
Yeah.
Snyder said that the additional photography was for a quick scene and probably added 4 minutes of material to the film. I appreciate that he gets to do that. I think it's really cool. I especially think it's cool that we're getting Batman and the Joker meeting on screen in this universe because they hadn't before.
Yeah.
I think you probably could have left Amber Heard out of the equation.
Yeah.
Sucks that she's getting work still.
Yeah.
October 17th, 2020, additional photography for Zack Snyder's Justice League begins. No, it ends.
Got him.
Boop.
No more photography. It's all good.
No more photography. They shot for a week.
Okay.
That's not that long.
Yeah.
This one's long again. Again, feel free to interject.
Okay.
October 29th, 2020, Ray Fisher speaks out in a Forbes interview. The erasure of people of color from the 2017 theatrical version of Justice League was neither an accident nor coincidence. Prior to Justice League's reshoot process, blatantly racist conversations were had and entertained on multiple occasions by former and current top-level executives at Warner Brothers Pictures. I'll just say about the erasure of people of color, Cyborg's mother, Iris West, Ryan Choi. None of them are in the movie.
I wonder why one of the most vocal people about the problems is a person of color.
Decision makers that participated in those racist conversations were Jeff Johns, John Berg, and the current Warner Brothers Pictures Group chairman, Toby Emmerich. I realized that the notes I ended up getting from Johns during reshoots were just a coded version of the racist things he was saying behind closed doors with other execs. Race was just one of the issues with the reshoot process. There were massive blow-ups, threats, coercion, taunting, unsafe work conditions, belittling, and gaslighting like you wouldn't believe.
That's insane. That
Jeff
still
Johns
happens. That's crazy.
Yeah.
A massive production like this, and that still happens.
Well, and the fact is that they, again, by all accounts, they went from a director that everyone says the nicest dude and is super easy to work with and has a vision to this like rushed and unprepared reshoot process with a director who
racist
sucks.
And also, without a woman's consent, did a scene.
And according to his ex-wife, a womanizer. Yeah.
Gee whiz.
Jeff Johns made this is still Ray Fisher talking.
Yeah.
Jeff Johns made a veiled threat to my career during the LA reshoots of Justice League. Multiple sources have informed me that Joss threatened the career of another person associated with the production. I think that's probably Gal, because we've also heard that about Gal.
Yeah.
Toby Emmerich was made aware and tried to cover for Whedon rather than deal with the abuse. The situation had to be escalated to Kevin Tsujihara to get any results. What set my soul on fire and forced me to speak out about Joss Whedon this summer was my becoming informed that Joss had ordered that the complexion of an actor of color be changed in post-production because he didn't like the color of their skin tone. Man, with everything 2020's been, that was the tipping point for me.
That would make me so upset. That's literally erasure right there.
Yeah.
And that's so crazy. I mean, it's unfortunate. The film industry has been so, anti-color because even like when they teach film theory and lighting and everything, lighting someone who has darker skin is different than lighting someone who has light skin.
Absolutely.
And for this director to not even consider like the reason that maybe you didn't like this person's skin tone is because you didn't know how to light them correctly because you're a racist.
Yeah, absolutely. These things affected many people in various departments. Warner Brothers Pictures has tried to make it seem as if these issues are mine and mine alone. I've brought them a number of witnesses that have been avoided and in some cases ghosted during the investigation process. Warner Brothers knows full well that my claims are credible. They're just scrambling. My team and I have been informed that the third-party firm that was originally brought on to investigate the Justice League production has withdrawn from the case. Warner Media has since informed me and my team that the old investigator purposefully lied to us about the investigation. We have asked Warner Media to relay this information to the public and retract Warner Brothers' September 4th hit piece on me so we can clear the air and get back to the investigation. They've refused to do so we are here. My goal is to have these people not be decision makers for the content that influences our world. These guys have been in Hollywood a long time. Their problematic behavior didn't start with the AT&T merger, but I'll be damned if it doesn't end with it. I'm not worried about the consequences. I'm well aware of what's at stake. If people don't want to work with me because I'm refusing to tolerate abusive behavior and the cover-up culture of old Hollywood, then so be it.
Good on him.
I really, again, not enough praise can be said to Ray Fisher. It's so cool that for him to risk his career, he's not Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
He was in one blockbuster movie that bombed. Like, this is a guy with a lot to lose.
And obviously, Zack Snyder saying he put Cyborg as the heart of this movie saw something in this actor, not just as a portrayal of Cyborg, but also as a person to have the capabilities to play a character and be the heart of this movie. And to see Zack Snyder say he's the heart of the movie and then see what we got, obviously there's a lot cut from Cyborg. Yeah. And again, he's in it the least out of all those characters, which even more shows how, like, against just Ray Fisher in general that Whedon was.
Well, and also just to have him be so vocal about not only just problems on set, but like problems in movie production.
For sure.
Like this guy is not just saying like, yeah, there are racist people in Hollywood, because we all know that. He's saying names. He's giving receipts.
And it's the same names.
Yes.
It's the same
names.
It's
Jeff Johns. It's Toby Emmerich. It's Joss Whedon. And he's been fighting with Walter Hamada, who wasn't around at that time, but very clearly is involved in trying to cover this situation up.
Yeah.
November 25th, 2020, Joss Whedon exits the HBO series The Nevers. So it's probably WB giving him the boot.
Yeah.
December 11th, 2020, Ray Fisher tweets, "The following was relayed to me on behalf of Warner Media at 5 p.m. EST today. The investigation of Justice League is now complete. It has led to remedial action, some we've seen, and some that is still to come. There are still conversations that need to be had and resolutions that need to be found. Thank you for all your support and encouragement on this journey. We are on our way. More soon. December 17th, 2020, Gal Gadot says, I'm happy for Ray to go out and speak his truth. I wasn't there when the guys shot with Whedon. I had my own experience with him, which wasn't the best one. But I took care of it there when it happened, and I took it to the higher-ups, and they took care of it. But I'm happy for Ray to go and say his truth. December 21st, 2020, Snyder's T-shirt campaign hits $500,000 raised for AFSP. $500,000.
That's that almost more money than the movie made.
No. Million.
Oh.
Not billion.
Okay.
That'd be
anyway,
astronomical.
I was gonna say that's insane.
That would have bought Justice League 2, 3, and 4.
If that were to happen, that would have been the biggest, FU to the company.
Yeah.
But
no,
okay,
still
cool.
$500,000.
Still
huge for the charity as well. December 30th, 2020, Ray Fisher severs ties with Warner Brothers, tweeting, "Walter Hamada is the most dangerous kind of enabler. He lies, and WBPR's failed September 4th hit piece sought to undermine the very real issues on the Justice League investigation. I will not participate in any production associated with him. That includes the upcoming The Flash film that he was supposed to be in."
Obviously, this guy is an enabler to go out and have literal lies being spread about what Ray Fisher is saying.
Jeff Johns is still working at DC, also.
Bruh.
Yeah, John Berg is still working at Warner Brothers.
Bruh.
February 8th, 2021, Snyder announces Zack Snyder's Justice League, Justice is Gray, a black and white edit of the film, and his ultimate version of the movie. I don't really care. Yeah. I mean, I'm going to watch it in color.
Yeah.
I like Snyder's colors. I don't really want to watch this movie in black and white.
Yeah.
February 10th, 2021, Charisma Carpenter accuses Joss Whedon of abusive behavior on the set of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, backing Ray Fisher.
Okay.
Buffy star Sarah Michelle Gellar posts on Instagram, "While I'm proud to have my name associated with Buffy Summers," she plays Buffy, "I don't want to be forever associated with the name Joss Whedon." So the cast of Buffy is now on Whedon's back. This is a bit of a lighter tone. February 22nd, 2021, Vanity Fair releases a deep dive article on the Snyder Cut. This is some retrospective stuff, so we're going back a little bit.
Yeah.
Deborah Snyder and Christopher Nolan told Zack Snyder not to see the film, the theatrical film, after a private screening at the Warner Brothers lot. Imagine being friends with Christopher Nolan. Well, first of all, imagine knowing that Christopher Nolan saw Justice League theatrical already. That's like, ugh. Yeah. But also, like, he came out of there and he was like, "Hey, Zack, don't watch that. Do not watch that movie."
Yeah.
And he still hasn't, evidently. On his daughter Autumn, Snyder said, "It's such a lightning strike at the center of this whole saga. In a lot of ways, it's informed everything we've done since. At the end of the movie, it says, 'For Autumn.' Without her, this absolutely would not have happened." Snyder also said, "There was a mandate from Sujihara that the movie be 2 hours long. How am I supposed to introduce 6 characters and an alien with a potential for world domination in 2 hours? I mean, I can do it. It can be done. Clearly it was done, but I didn't see it." On leaving the film in 2017, Snyder said, "We just lost the will to fight that fight in a lot of ways. All of us, the whole family, were just so broken by losing Autumn that all these conversations in the middle of it really became, it was like, really? Frankly, I think we did the right thing because it would have been either incredibly belligerent or we would have just rolled over." This is fun. An anonymous WB executive says, "When we got to see what Joss actually did, it was stupefying. The robber on the rooftop, so goofy and awful. The Russian family, so useless and pointless. Everyone knew it. It was so awkward because no one wanted to admit what a piece of S-word it was." So even the executives were like, "Man, this movie sucks."
I mean, there's no way you can watch the movie and be like, this is art.
Yeah. Especially, I'm glad they pointed out, like the robber on the rooftop, it's goofy, it's stupid. The Russian family,
it's pointless.
Yeah.
It literally adds nothing to the movie.
Yeah. Apparently the original Whedon robber scene was goofier, and WB was like, "Stop, tone it way down." Snyder had kept the 4-hour black and white version on Justice League when he left, stating, "We would just show it to random people who stop by, like our friends or whatever." Mm-hmm. So yeah, he had the black and white version on his laptop. Snyder says that WB initially wanted to release the raw footage on his laptop. So when they came to him and said, "We want to do this," they wanted to put out an unfinished movie. I was like, that's a no. That's a hard no. And they're like, "But why? You can just put up the rough cut." I go, "Here's why. 3 reasons. 1, you get the internet off your back, which is probably the main reason you want to do this. 2, you get to feel vindicated for making things right, I guess, on some level. Then 3, you get a S-word version of the movie that you can point at and go, see? It's not that good anyway." So maybe I was right. I was like, no chance. I would rather just have the Snyder Cut be a mythical unicorn for all time.
And that's so respectable, because that's him not only calling out the poor intentions of, the execs and everything, but also just like the
standing up for his art and his craft.
And the catastrophe of just how much got destroyed in all of this, and all the silliness of all this running around in circles that they're doing.
Well, and this is his legacy too. I mean, this is his longest movie. It's probably his biggest movie. It's definitely his most talked about movie. Like,
it's the last thing he worked on before his daughter died. I mean, it's important.
Yeah, definitely. Anyway, WB gave the production team $70 million to shoot additional photography. However, that's a lot. That is a lot of... Oh, not just to shoot it, to finish the movie up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, $70 million for a new movie on streaming, that's not that bad, but this movie also had a gigantic budget when it started.
Yes.
Snyder refused to be paid. "I'm not getting paid. I didn't want to be beholden to anyone, and it allowed me to keep my negotiating powers with these people pretty strong."
The more I hear about this, the more respect I have for Zack Snyder.
March 1st, 2021, Sean O'Connell releases his book, Release the Snyder Cut, the crazy true story behind the fight that saved Zack Snyder's Justice League. I haven't read it yet, but he was a big proponent for the movement. So definitely read that book.
Yeah.
This is... we're getting the end here. This is the last word on the Ray Fisher situation as of today. March 2nd, 2021. Ray Fisher tweets, "Prior to the Justice League reshoots of 2017, racially discriminatory conversations were had and entertained on multiple occasions by Warner Brothers Pictures executives Toby Emmerich, Jeff Johns, and John Berg. Had I been aware of these conversations in real time, I would have addressed them in real time. However, it wasn't until the summer of 2020 that individuals who were in those meetings felt comfortable sharing with me what they had witnessed firsthand. When it comes to matters involving race, I think I made a typo here.
Got him.
When it comes to matters involving race, I always give the benefit of the doubt to those who may have been ignorant in their own biases. But when you have studio executives, partially Jeff Johns, saying, 'We can't have an angry black man at the center of the movie,' and then those executives use their power to remove and reduce all black people from that movie, they are no longer entitled to any benefit associated with the doubt." Toby, Jeff, and John were not ignorant of their biases. They understood full well the racist rhetoric that they chose to entertain in those meetings was offensive, discriminatory, and unacceptable. Furthermore, they dared not speak of those things to me, nor any other black person associated with the film. Instead, they chose the cowardly route of gaslighting, complete with an extremely problematic request, such as asking me to play Cyborg like Quasimodo, and forcing a scene to be reshot so they could highlight the existence of Cyborg's penis. Which I don't think is in the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
But
they still asked
they did it anyway.
They asked them to still film the scene.
Right. Unfortunately, those were just some of the issues. We know now that the leadership at Warner Brothers Pictures lied to the cast and crew of Justice League and to the world about Zack Snyder picking Joss Whedon to finish the film. The truth will continue to reveal itself. And as it does, there will likely be attempts to shift the blame completely onto Kevin Tsujihara and Joss Whedon. But make no mistake, Jeff Johns worked intimately with Joss to overhaul the entire Justice League script. And while Jeff was not credited as a co-writer of the film, he was certainly an enforcer of the race-based discrimination that occurred during his conversations with Toby and John. Zack Snyder's Justice League stands as proof of and in opposition to that discrimination. I'm indebted to the participants of the Justice League investigation They've put themselves at great risk to share the truth, and I owe it to them. I owe it to the peers and I owe it to my peers in this industry. I owe it to all black people to stay the course.
Yeah.
P.S. Walter Hamada owes an apology to all the participants of the Justice League investigation.
Yeah, man.
It was the last thing we've heard about the entire situation.
And we're filming this on the Friday of the 5th? Yeah,
March 5th, 2021.
And that, there may be stuff that happens in the upcoming week or so before the Snyder Cut comes out.
Yeah.
But to have all of this and for Ray to be so eloquent and calm about the situation, and again, like you said, saying specific names and calling for a specific and direct action to be taken is so good to see, because the way racism perpetuates is ambiguity and pretending like it doesn't exist. And it's so great to see, the heart and the outpour, not only for this movie, but the cast that they have for one another and for just doing the right thing in general. I think
and for a Justice League movie, that's so cool to see. Okay, our heroes are also fighting a fight,
Yeah. And it's just, it couldn't be, like poetry, it rhymes, as they say. It's just, I have had very little attachment to the DC cinematic universe and, forever. And I've watched more DC in the last couple weeks than I ever have. And I think just knowing how great these DC movies could be if the studio didn't freaking suck.
They're held back a lot by Warner Brothers.
Yeah, it's so disappointing to see that such awful treatment of people and bigotry and just even poor treatment of fellow humans is holding back art that could be amazing.
And clearly it doesn't happen with every production.
Yeah.
Not every DC production, not every Warner Brothers production. But it happened.
Yeah. And it should be fixed and corrected.
And it's really cool that Ray Fisher, in particular, is talking about it. Maybe he started saying, some bad stuff went down on the Justice League set. And then people were like, oh, well, why isn't Ray being specific? So he says, Toby Emmerich, Jeff Johns, John Berg. And he says, they told me to play Cyborg like Quasimodo. And he says these things so specifically.
Yes.
And it is blunt.
But it's not angry. It's not like rage induced. It's logical and it makes sense.
Yeah.
And as you're saying, I don't think for the fictional heroes to be taking real life hero stances is, a good thing to see. And it's something Hollywood's always had the problem of, racism, bigotry and everything, sexism. And it's great to see a person who's come from Broadway or stage productions and everything like that, like Ray Fisher. That's something that they don't tolerate. Theater is such a welcoming place of trying to take everyone. And it had, of course, theater itself has its problems too. It's had its racism and it's still there and everything. And all the problems that are there. But theater is such a community-based thing. And I hope to see film start to go down the line that theater is, where they're starting to be, race blind casting. Where like in Hamilton, the whole George Washington is not a white man.
Right.
The whole cast isn't basically. And I think that would be a really great step forward to see in our blockbuster movies.
Well, and I think a good final note on this situation is that this whole story of the Justice League production has been, plagued by a studio that, enables problematic behavior, not just racism, but clearly sexism. And honestly, took away a film from a grieving man. And
Zack Snyder has handled this very mature for the situation.
Oh, yeah.
The whole cast seemingly has.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's... now that we're really at the end, it's a big story of weird little things happening, like Subway tweets about it, but then also there's this huge scandal behind the scenes, and the huge box office failure of the movie and the announcement of a movie that for years didn't exist, or so they said. You know.
Yeah.
Last couple things I have to say. March 4th, 2021, yesterday. Zack Snyder reveals the original plans for Justice League 2 and 3 and storyboards illustrated by Jim Lee at a Dallas Justice League Museum event. You could do an entire video over the plans for Justice League 2 and 3. But they're pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And of course, March 18th, 2021, Zack Snyder's Justice League is released on HBO Max.
Yes, sir.
And I think, like Ray says, it's a real testament to, you know, it's not this poor and problematic production. It's a movie that stands in opposition to that discrimination that happened on set. And it's a movie that stands for, like, artistic integrity. And, you know, a filmmaker's vision that is finally realized. And I'm probably more excited for this movie than I ever have been for a movie, just because I guess as the title implies, it's not just it's the right version of Justice League. It's Zack Snyder's Justice League, and
it's something so much bigger than itself. It represents so much more than itself at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I can't wait to see it though.
Yeah,
and I'm glad we got to go over this pretty lengthy history of the Snyder Cut.
And thank you guys for listening. I think if anyone is listening to this, either before it comes out or right after watching it or sometime in the future, we'd love to hear anything you have to say. If there's any other perspectives or things you disagree with, agree with. I think
maybe the Ray Fisher situation has blown up after this,
or maybe there's, you know, even more stuff that, you know, whatever happens, we'd love to start a discussion with this video.
I don't think it'll happen, but how crazy would it be if, like, this movie blows up on HBO? Justice League 2?
Yeah.
I don't think that would ever happen. I think it's
know.
very, very unlikely, but
hey, if it's Popsicle,
it's possible. Then again, this movie didn't exist.
Yeah.
So
well, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye.